The Archangel Chronicles 2, Chapter 15, Messiah, by Raymond Collotti, copyright 2025, all rights reserved.
O child of dawn, O flame newborn, that walks the wind from far away, we wander dust by starlight torn, to find the light no night can slay. My mother's lips are sealed by grief, her voice is lost where shadows sleep, yet still her heart through silence brief remembers songs too pure to weep. Come, child of light, through desert wide, let healing flow as rivers glide. Touch your heart where sorrow clings, and wake her voice. The songbird sings. O flame that burns beneath the sand, a whisper carried soft and clear, unseal the words I cannot command, restore the voice I ache to hear. Come, child of light, through desert wide, let healing flow as rivers glide. Touch your heart where sorrow clings, and wake her voice. The songbird sings. If love endures beyond all pain.
Sophia, I write now what Adam told me on the following evening, as we camped in the valley below the Mount of Olives. The wind carried the scent of olive trees and distant fires from the city above. He spoke softly, his voice burdened, as one who has looked upon the heart of a dying age. Adam told me this: the wind before dawn was cold and bitter. The stars still burned above the eastern hills, though their light paled when the first dull ember of morning smoldered behind the mountain. My horse's breath came in white plumes that hung like ghosts in the air. Brigomaris rode beside me, the Gaul, broad-shouldered and silent, the iron of his armor dulled by dust and sleeplessness. His men, mounted, followed in closed order, their spears dimly gleaming in the half-dark. Not a word was spoken among them, only the sound of hooves striking the paving stones as we climbed the northern slopes towards the city walls. Jerusalem loomed ahead, a huddle of towers and terraces still wrapped in shadow. The great temple rose like a mountain's ghost, its marble faintly luminous beneath the paling sky. To the west stood the fortress Antonia, square, immense, its battlements scarred by age and tyranny. Torches guttered along its walls. At its gates, sentries stood unmoving, faces like carved stone. Brigomaris dismounted and spoke briefly with an officer. He then turned to me. "Keep your head low," he muttered. "He is ill, but his eyes He still sees too much. He stood in front of me, blocking my way. He looked to his left and then to his right. Listen to me, physician, and keep what I am about to tell you to yourself. If you betray me, I will hunt you down and spit you on my spear like a boar. I swear to do all the same to those who in your caravan, when it arrives here this morning. Can I trust you? I keep my oaths, strategos. I will keep your confidence, this I swear. Brigomaris took off his helmet and shook his head, freeing the tousled mass of red hair from its hidden captivity. It fell down to his shoulders in wavy curls. He stepped closer and looked me in the eyes. They had a wild look in them, but I did not flinch. Once he began, I realized that Brigomaris was anxious to speak, because there was no one else he could confide in. I realized that this immensely strong and impressive soldier was racked with a mixture of fear, loathing, and anger. I was a warrior and thief, once in Galatia, free in the forests, before Rome took me and sent me to the arena, and then from the arena to this place. Now I guard this Jewish king, Herod, who some call great. I have fought beside men split open in the arena. I have seen their hidden insides steam in the cold. Yet nothing I have seen matches the horror of watching this Herod die slowly day by day. His body swells like a wineskin left in the sun. His feet shine with water trapped under the skin. The itching drives him to madness. He rakes himself raw until the sheets are bloody. Worst of all, the corruption between his thighs. The gods preserve me. The stench reaches even my post at the door. The slaves whisper of maggots crawling over his flesh. Each morning we lift him, groaning, into the baths. He hopes the heat will drive out the sickness. Instead, he faints. His lips turn blue, while we rush to hold him upright. Once I thought he had drowned in his own bath. He awoke, cursing us, shouting that we were eager for his death. He speaks often of plots. He watches his sons with eyes that blaze through his body, though it is crumbling. Antipater he ordered slain, even as the fever consumed him. His voice was weak, but his command was iron still. We carried out the execution at once, for to delay the word of Herod is to die yourself. At night, when the palace grows quiet, I sit outside his chamber with my sword across my knees. I hear him cry out, sometimes in pain, sometimes in rage, sometimes as if wrestling between unseen spirits. He is a king brought lower than any beggar, and yet even now I fear him. Even rotting, he holds us all in terror. The Jews say their God strikes him down for his cruelties, the slaughter of those who oppose him, the blood of his own kin, the murder of his wife, and what he has done with her corpse. Perhaps it is so. I am no Jew. I only know what I see, and what I see is a man who built temples like mountains, who bent Rome to his will, now eaten alive from within. It cannot be long before he dies, and the whole land will shake. My men will scatter, perhaps back to Rome, perhaps to dust. His remaining sons will fight, and the people will curse his name. But I will remember the sight of him, carried like a child to the bath, his breath foul, his body consumed, still clawing at life with a king's fury. I think this is how Herod dies, not gently, not nobly, but raging, stinking, gnawed by worms, a terror even in defeat. Brigomaris grabbed me, his large, calloused hands closing on the folds of my cloak. You see, physician, I think you're too late. He has been howling. I thought the worms would eat him alive before I returned with you. Adam grasped the soldier's hands, lowering them. The worms do not wait upon my steps, strategos. They feast because the body is ripe. I doubt my herbs will drive them out, but they may soften his suffering. Suffering? Brigomaris spat on the floor. Yes, he suffers, but so do we all. We who must hear him shriek, who carry him like a child to his baths, who cleaned the sheets crawling with filth. Tell me, healer, what is it that devours him? I think that his flesh has turned against him. The waters of his body no longer flow rightly. His kidneys are probably failing, swelling his limbs, and below, I suspect a gangrene that spreads, blocking what was once proud. No man survives such corruption. Brigomaris laughed grimly. So, it is true, even kings rot like common thieves. Perhaps even more so, said Adam, for kings bear the weight of their deeds. His sickness is not only of the flesh. The soul festers when it has spilt so much blood. Brigomaris narrowed his eyes. You mean judgment? Is it your God that has struck him down? Some would say so, said Adam. I mean balance. A life of cruelty yields a death of torment. You can call it God if you like. Call it fate. It matters not, but it comes to the same. Brigomaris snorted. In my home country, we speak of the Furies. They hunt the guilty till their marrow burns. I think they found him here in Jerusalem. Names change, but truths remain, said Adam. He may build palaces and slaughter his kin, raise temples and cut down his people. Greatness and horror in the same hands, but now it seems that those hands tremble, eaten from within. And what of us who guard him? Will we be cursed too? His shadow falls on all of us, said Brigomaris. Adam looked at Brigomaris long and hard before he spoke again. Each man must choose, strategos. You obeyed, you were bound by Herod, bound by fear. The guilt is not yours, unless you carry it. Brigomaris looked away and laughed bitterly. I carry enough. The smell, the screams, the sight of a king chewed by worms. It will follow me across the seas when I'm gone. Adam softened his gaze and put his hand on the general's shoulder. Then remember this. Let it not haunt you, but teach you what power becomes when it devours itself. We turned and resumed our march towards the palace. When we entered the gate, the air inside the fortress stank of pitch, incense, and decay. The corridors echoed with whispers, physicians, priests, astrologers, and pale-robed scribes who moved like moths around a dying flame. All of them served the same purpose now, to read the omens of a king's final breath. Brigomaris led Adam. His armor glinted dully beneath the torchlight, his face carved in fatigue and caution. The corridors were narrow, the air thick with myrrh and human fear. We passed eunuchs who whispered in Greek, scribes hunched over tables, and pale physicians of Herod's court who turned their faces away as we went by, these men who had long ceased to heal, tending instead to the pride of a dying tyrant. At last we came to him. Brigomaris drew aside a curtain, and I stepped into the king's chamber. It was like entering a tomb before its ceiling. Heavy draperies of purple shut out the night. Braziers smoked with incense and resin, their fumes mingling with the stench of suppuration. On a couch of ivory inlaid with gold lay Herod, the lion of Idumea, the master of Judea, now reduced to a ruin of flesh and rage. His body was swollen and mottled, the skin stretched taut over limbs that oozed corruption. Beneath the silks, his feet were bandaged and blackened, eaten by disease. His belly rose like a mound of stone. His breath came wet and rasping, yet his eyes, sunk deep into his skull, burned with a fever that was not wholly of the body. Around him moved the shadows of his court. Another Greek physician murmuring in confusion, Jewish scribes reciting psalms, astrologers with trembling hands tracing the course of the heavens upon parchment, and above them all the great vulture of the court, the chamberlain, a eunuch draped in saffron, fanned him with a peacock feather and whispered, "Peace, my lord. The healer from Alexandria is come." Herod's gaze found me. "So," he rasped, his voice broken and thin as rust, "they send me, another magician of the Nile. Tell me, physician, can your art drive death from a king?" I bowed my head. "No man commands death, my lord," I said, "but one may ease its coming." He gave a crooked smile that showed his yellowed teeth. "Then speak, and show me what you see." I approached the couch. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the nearness of something monstrous and pitiable all at once. His pulse, when I took it, thudded weakly, each beat irregular, like the staggering of a wounded beast. His skin was hot to the touch, and beneath the garments I could smell the sourness of the infection, the rot of the inner organs giving way. I lifted the corner of a bandage. Gangrene. The flesh beneath had turned as black as pitch. I knew then that no art of mine, nor any herb from Egypt's gardens, could save him. His body was a battlefield already lost. I felt a deadly coldness, and utter silence descended upon the gathering. Time stood still. There was no movement within the room. The air seemed to leave it, and I felt I had been transported to another place. I looked up, and in the hidden corners of the room, I saw oozing from the darkness an even blacker presence. Here he was, the adversary, come to claim his prey. Tentacles of darkness crawled along the floor and seeped up the edge of the bed, wrapping themselves around Herod's feet, pulling him into the darkness. From a distance, I heard a rasping cough, and the spell was broken. I was back in the chamber at Herod's bedside. I felt his eyes upon me, piercing, cunning, desperate. "What star burns in your sky, physician?" he whispered. "The others speak of a light over Bethlehem. Do you believe such tales?" "The heavens speak as they always have," I said. "Only men change the meaning of their song." He gave a harsh laugh that turned to coughing and then blood. "A philosopher as well as a healer. Tell me then." His hand gripped my wrist with surprising strength. "If a new king is born, does that mean the old one must die?" I could not answer. His gaze held mine, a terrible mingling of terror and defiance. I saw in it the whole weight of his empire, the fortresses, the armies, the sons he had murdered, the endless dread of losing what he could never keep. His voice fell to a whisper. "Find the child," he said, "and tell me where he lies." Brigamar stood uneasily, but did not speak. I bowed, set down the physician's scroll, and turned away. The torches hissed, the curtains stirred as if breathing with the king. Behind me, Herod's cough echoed through the chamber, a hollow rattle like stones tumbling into an empty well. Herod now began to pour out words to me. The nights are worst. I lie awake, though I pray for sleep. The swelling in my belly presses like a stone mill upon my gut, and the itch, that cursed itch, rakes my skin till I bleed with my own scratching. I smell of rot. I feel it too, though the worms are already burrowing through my flesh before the grave has claimed me. They tell me I'm still king, yet what king must be carried like an infant to his baths? What king is lowered into steaming water while servants hide their disgust at the stench of his body? I hear them gag when they think I cannot. The heat brings no relief, only faintness, dizziness, and more pain. My legs have swollen like wineskins left too long in the sun. Dropsy, they say. My breath rattles, foul as the sewers beneath Jerusalem. When I cough, my chest burns, and sometimes I see flecks of blood. But it is below the waist that the torment reigns. A fire consumes me there. My loins have become an open sore, gnawed by unseen teeth, alive with creeping vermin. I feel them squirming, wriggling, feeding on me, as though I am carrion while I yet breathe. A king of Judea, a meal for maggots before death. Herod sat up suddenly, shrieking and sputtering. Rage sustains me when bread cannot. Rags at my son who plot against me, at the Pharisees who whisper that my agony is judgmental from God. Rage at the people who will rejoice when I am gone. I am Herod. I did not raise the great temple. Did I not tame this land with stone and sword? Yet even the marble and blood cannot shield me from decay. He collapsed back on the couch. At times, I consider ending it, he panted. A blade pressed to the throat, or a cup of poison kept hidden. But the thoughts of defeat disgust me more than the worms. Better to die writhing, fighting against the decree of heaven itself, than to yield like a common wretch. Still, the shadow grows heavier each dawn. I feel it in my bones. The end approaches. Jerusalem, reeks of my corruption. Soon the trumpets will sound for another. My body, torn and eaten, will be sealed in stone. He seized my arm as I administered my potions and debrided the wounds. His voice trembled. And what will they say of me? That Herod built, and Herod killed, and Herod rotted from within, that a king who feared no man could not outmatch the hand of God? I did what I could to clean the wounds, and administered the herbs and spices, and left orders to administer other potions that I had brought. Herod slept, but I knew his end was close, days, or a few weeks at the very most. Outside, dawn was breaking over Jerusalem. I washed my hands in the cold basin of the gate, but the stench of that chamber clung to me still, not of death alone, but of the soul's decay when power has eaten its heart. Sophia. We gathered our company together and resumed our pilgrimage to Jerusalem, that first light. We came to that glowing city of white stone at the turning of the season, when the hills were still pale with winter light, and the olive trees shimmered like silver fire beneath the sun. From afar, the city appeared not as a single place, but as a layered crown upon the mountains, its walls rising tier upon tier, its towers gleaming with white limestone, its smoke ascending like the breath of 1,000 prayers. As we drew near, the sound of life grew louder. The clamor of markets, the bray of donkeys, the cries of beggars at the gates. The caravan stretched out behind us in a golden train, the camels swaying beneath their loads of frankincense and myrrh, their bells chiming in steady rhythm, followed by Axia, our stallion, and her 100 horse archers on their fine Arabian steeds. Wherever we passed, the people stopped, turned to watch, and fell silent. "Who are these strangers?" they whispered. "From the east," another said. "Merchants or magicians or warriors. They carry the smell of paradise and the look of kings." At the Jaffa gate, Herod's guards halted us. The captain, resplendent in gilded armor, demanded our names and our purpose. Melchior, calm as ever, dismounted and replied in the royal tongue of Judea. "We seek the one who has been born King of the Jews, for we have seen his star in the east and have come to pay him homage." The words rippled through the crowd like wind across water. Murmurs broke into shouts. Some laughed, some others gasped, as if hearing blasphemy. A few fell silent and looked to heaven in fear. Melchior presented the scroll of safe conduct, sealed and presented to us by Brigomarus. We entered into the city. The sun was climbing, its light striking the white stones so fiercely that the whole city seemed to tremble in gold. Before us rose the great temple, vast and terrible in its beauty. The marble courts blazed with the sheen of sacrifice. Smoke coiled upward like a living thing, twisting towards heaven. It smelled of burning flesh and incense, the mingled breath of devotion and dread. Trumpets sounded from the inner court, clear as spears of light, and the Levites chanting rolled over the city like a tide. I felt it in my bones, that rhythm of offering, that yearning for holiness through blood. Pilgrims pressed against the outer walls, their faces lifted in hope or fear. Doves fluttered upon the altar, and the priests, robed in white, moved like figures in a dream. Our caravan halted upon the road that skirted the Temple Mount. Even the camels seemed to bow their heads. Melchior dismounted and stood in silence, his hands clasped. Balthazar whispered a prayer in the tongue of his fathers. Gondophares watched grimly, as if remembering the altars of his own land. I too watched. The knife flashed, the lamb's cry cut through the singing. A moment later came the smoke, dark, fragrant, rising, and I thought of the child we sought, the one born without temple or altar, whose light would burn without the need of blood. How small seemed the priests in their splendor, how fragile the flame of their lamps against the vastness of heaven, and yet, in that rising smoke, I saw the shadow of a mystery older than this mountain, older than any creed, the longing of the human heart to be reconciled, to touch what is beyond touch. As we moved on, the trumpets sounded again, and the cry of the Lamb echoed behind us. Lucia wept softly beside me. "There must be another way," she said, and I answered, "There is. We are going to find it." Within the hour, the message of our arrival reached the palace. Jerusalem, the city of prophets and blood, was trembling once more. We were brought to an antechamber of Herod's court, cool and dark, the walls veined with marble, and the air thick with incense. Soldiers lined the corridors like statues of iron. Outside, I could hear the uneasy voice of the city rising, a chorus of rumor and expectation. Then came Nicolaus of Damascus, the king's counselor, scholar and historian, a man whose eyes seemed to weigh the very soul of a person before speaking. I knew him from my correspondence with him. He greeted us with measured courtesy, his Greek polished and precise. "Strangers from the east," he said, "the king has heard of your arrival and your question. It has caused considerable interest. What is this star you follow, and what child do you seek?" Melchior bowed, his robes gleaming with desert dust. "We follow not a rumor, but a light that no earthly hand kindled. It appeared above the eastern sea and has led us here. In our ancient writings, it is said that when the world's shadow deepens, a new king will rise, a ruler not of conquest, but of truth." Nicholas regarded him closely. A child king then, born in Judea? A Messiah? "Yes," said Balthazar, his dark eyes unwavering. "We have come to honor him before the world even knows his name." Nicholas folded his hands. "You speak of prophecy, but prophecy in this land is like a spark among dry reeds. The king is cautious of flames." He turned to me then, as though sensing that I too bore a record of meaning. "And you, most wise woman of letters, are you his scribe?" "I am," I said. "But I write what time itself whispers, and time is whispering loudly in your city, my lord." For a moment, something flickered in Nicholas's gaze, something human, almost troubled. Then he inclined his head. "Wait here," he said. "I will speak to the king." When he departed, a hush fell over the chamber. Outside, the bells of Jerusalem rang for the evening prayer. Lucia leaned close and whispered, "They do not yet understand what star it is that burns above them." Axia's eyes were distant, filled with a light that did not come from the torches. "They will," she said softly, "but not as they expect." And as the doors to Herod's hall closed behind Nicolaus, I felt that history itself had drawn breath, that the city, ancient and weary, was on the edge of revelation or ruin. The palace of Herod stood upon the western hill, commanding all of Jerusalem. It was built in the Roman style, with terraces and colonnades and fountains of cold water flowing through marbled lions' mouths, but beneath the gleam of its stones there lay something restless, as if the house itself knew its master's soul. Nicolaus of Damascus walked the long corridor towards the king's chamber, his sandals whispering against the floor. Torches burned low, their light wavering upon painted walls that showed Herod's victories, his battles won, his towers built, his cities founded in his name. Yet each scene seemed to lean inward, as though listening for some unseen voice. The guards at the doors bowed and stepped aside. Within, Herod sat alone upon a gilded chair, his crown askew, his cloak heavy with the jewels that glimmered like drops of blood. His face was pale, his eyes deep set and ringed with sleepless shadow. He did not look up as Nicolaus entered. "Speak," he said. "They tell me that more strangers have come, causing an uproar in my city." Nicolaus bowed low. "Yes, my lord, they are men of learning, but from lands beyond the desert, Persia, Arabia, and further still. They travel under noble banners, bearing gifts of incense and gold. The people call them magi." Herod's lips tightened. "And what do they seek?" "They claim," said Nicolaus, "to have seen a star in the east, the one that marks the birth of a king." At this, Herod's head jerked upward. His voice grew sharp, almost a hiss. "A king in my kingdom?" "They say," Nicolaus continued carefully, "that it is not a mortal sovereignty they follow, but a divine one, a ruler foretold by prophets of old." Herod rose with effort from his couch. He had regained some of his formidable strength from Adam's earlier ministrations. The jewels on his robe clattered like chains. "Prophets," he spat. "Always the prophets. Every few years another fool rises from the dust, claiming the heavens have spoken, and the people, fools that they are, listen." He began to pace, the hem of his cloak dragging across the floor. "What do they want from me, these travelers?" "To worship," Nicolaus replied. "They ask only to know where the child is born, that they may pay him homage." Herod stopped pacing. For a long moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the slow drip of water from a nearby fountain. The king's voice softened, a serpent in the grass. "Bring them to me, Nicolaus, privately. Tell them I, too, desire to worship this child." Nicolaus inclined his head. but his eyes did not meet the king's. "As you command, sire." Herod's gaze turned toward the high window, where a single star burned through the dusk. "Do you see it, my friend? Even the sky mocks me. A star above my city, and not one of my making, and I cannot see it." He laughed, a brittle, hollow sound that made the torches shudder. "If this child exists, he shall not live to see manhood." Nicolaus flinched inwardly, but kept his voice level. "Majesty, perhaps it is only a sign of blessing, not rebellion, a light meant for peace, not for crowns." Herod's eyes flashed. "There is no peace without power, and no crown without blood." When Nicolaus left the chamber, the corridors seemed darker than before. He paused by a window overlooking the city. He could see it, the star that shone clear and still above the hills, indifferent to kings. He whispered to himself, "O light of heaven, why must you burn above such darkness?" And in that hour, I believe, the first threads of Herod's ruin were woven, by fear, by pride, and the silent decree of a higher realm. The campfires of the caravan burned low. From the Temple Mount, faint trumpets sounded the evening watch. I was sitting apart from the others, writing by lamplight upon my scroll. When Adam approached, dust still on his cloak, I looked up and saw the shadow in his eyes. He was exhausted and as white as a sheet. I bade him sit, and food and refreshment were brought to him. I knelt before him and kissed his hands. "I give thanks that you have returned, my love. Praise be that the gates have let you out again. Tell me, what did you see within those walls?" "A kingdom rotting from its core," he said with a sigh. "Herod lies upon a couch of gold, but his flesh is the color of ash. The fever eats him, and yet he rages like a man still at war. Around him gather flatterers and scholars, their words thick with honey and deceit. They fear him more than death itself. But you treated him." "I tried. My potions and laudanum gave him some relief, for a while at least. His body is failing, but it is not the sickness of the flesh that will kill him. It is the sickness of his soul. When I touched his wrist, I felt a pulse like a trapped beast beating against the cage of his guilt. He asked me not for healing, but for prophecy. He asked if I knew of a child born to be king. Ah, then the whispers have reached even his bedchamber. Yes, he spoke of stars and omens, of kings from the east. I told him only that all flesh returns to dust, and that no man can buy peace with blood." He laughed with a sound like iron breaking, and he said, "If another king had been born, let him die before he learns to walk." "So his fear grows with his weakness," I said. "I have seen such madness before in rulers who think death will rob them of their crowns. But this fear is not of death. It is of being replaced. His body is consumed by visions of the child, though he has never seen him. I think he dreams of him every night, as I have, though not with awe, but with terror. He will not rest until that terror is quenched." "And you, Adam, what do you fear?" "That I have looked upon the face of the one who will try to slay the light itself. That my hands, meant to heal, have touched the man who who will send soldiers to Bethlehem. I fear I've become a witness to the shadow that rises before the dawn." "You are a physician, not a judge," I said. "Even among the dying, you serve the living truth. It is enough that you saw and knew." "Then let the truth be written, Sophia, my love, in your scrolls, that I saw a king trembling before a child, not yet walking, and that his fear was the beginning of a storm that will soon break upon all of us." "I will write it," I said, "and perhaps when future eyes read those words, they will understand that even in the midst of tyranny, there walked among men a healer who bore witness to the darkness and still chose the light." Night had fallen upon Jerusalem. The city, restless all day with rumor, now lay hushed beneath a dome of trembling stars. The moonlight washed the rooftops silver. From the Temple Mount came the faint, rhythmic chanting of the priests keeping the midnight watch. Within Herod's palace, all was quieter still. The corridors seemed carved from shadow. Every torch burned low, as though the flame itself feared to draw attention. It was in this hour that Nicolaus came to us, alone, his scholar's robe hastily thrown over his shoulders, his face pale but resolute. We were waiting in the guest chamber assigned to the caravan, Melchior, Balthazar, and I, with Adam and Lucia close by. The air smelled faintly of cedar and lamp oil. The Magi had not slept. They sat in silence, each with eyes turned toward the star through the lattice window. Nicolaus entered without a herald. He closed the door softly behind him and inclined his head. "The king has heard your words," he said, "and he bids me speak in his stead." Melchior rose, his hands folded before him. "We thank him for his courtesy. What message does he send?" Nicolaus's eyes flickered towards the guards outside, then came back to us. His voice dropped to a near whisper. "Herod requests that when you have found the child you seek, you return to tell him where the child lies, that he too may come and pay homage." A silence followed. The words hung in the air like smoke. Balthazar's gaze sharpened. Does he speak truth or fear? Nicolaus hesitated. The king is troubled. Your coming has stirred old prophecies. Some say the time long spoken of by our seers is near. He wishes only to understand what it means. Then let him look to his own heart, said Melchior. For what is born in this world cannot be understood by fear. Nicolaus's composure wavered. I saw the weariness in him, the man beneath the scholar, the eyes of one who has written too much of power and too little of mercy. He turned to me then, perhaps sensing the chronicler's gaze upon him. You, noble woman of letters, teacher in the halls of knowledge, he said quietly, you travel with these men. Do you truly believe that such a child exists and that a star can foretell his birth? I answered gently, I believe that what is written in heaven finds its echo on earth, and that tonight the heavens are speaking loudly. He looked down, as if the weight of that truth was too great to bear. Then he drew a sealed parchment from his sleeve. Here, he said, is a letter of safe passage. It will grant you free access through the lands of Judea. Take it and go quickly. The king's favor is a coin that can change hands too easily. Melchior accepted it with a bow. You have shown us grace, Nicolaus of Damascus. May the light that guides us guide you also. Nicholas inclined his head, but his expression was shadowed. If that light is truly divine, he murmured, it will find me, even in the court of a dying king. As he turned to leave, Lucia's voice followed him softly with a whisper more than a song. The ink of men fades, but stars do not forget. Even a scribe may find his way by tears that have not been shed. He paused at the threshold, his hand trembling upon the door. When he was gone, swallowed by the darkness in the corridor. Adam watched after him for a long time. He is torn, he said. By those who live near power seldom escape its shadow without pain. Outside, the star burned brighter than before, casting its pale light upon the marble floor like a path unrolled. The Magi knelt, and for a moment it seemed that even the stones of Herod's house trembled at the nearness of something holy. I wrote in my scroll that night, the quill of history has met the flame of prophecy. One will burn and one will endure.
He built his walls against the wind. He paved the sea with stone. He called the stars his witnesses, yet died unloved alone. The marble drank his sleepless breath. The crown became his claim, and every step upon his floors echoed one name. One name. Oh, Herod, king of ashes, your throne is cold tonight. The worms you feared are growing now beneath the waning light. You ruled the world of dust and bone, but mercy would not keep. Oh, builder of the temple walls, the king who could not sleep. His queen returned in midnight flame, her beauty pale as glass. She kissed him with a ghostly light and watched the daylight pass. His sons stood bound in chains of gold, their voices lost to years, and still he reigned above their graves through fever, smoke, and tears. Oh, Herod, king of ashes, your throne is cold tonight. The worms you feared are brewing now beneath the waning light. You ruled the world of dust and bone, but mercy would not keep. Oh, builder of the temple walls, the king who could not sleep. The star of curse still burns above, unmoved by crown or blade. It shines upon the child you feared and all the world you made. No fortress guards the guilty heart, no gate can hold the dawn. The light you sought to silence is the light that carries on. Oh, Herod, king of ashes, the dawn forgets your name. The child you feared is waking now. The world is not the same. You built in stone, but love will build where tyrants cannot keep. Sleep now, restless shadow, the king who could not sleep. Oh.
Music for Chapter 15, Sealed by Grief, words by Raymond Collotti, music and voices by Marika AI. ED Records, Sad Business. Herod's Lament, words by Raymond Collotti, music and voices by Marika AI. The following all from Epidemic Sound. One Mission by Christopher Mo Ditlevson. Demon Night by Farrell Wooten. Crypta by Joe Wandrini. Consumed by Darkness by Christopher Mo Ditlevson. 669X by Lennon. Medusa by Joe Wandrini. Progression by Christopher Mo Ditlevson. Ancient Spells by Requi Zhao. Back to the Wild by Pastis. Our Final Mission by Christopher Mo Ditlevson. Beyond Measure by Christopher Mo Ditlevson. Chant of the Moors by Flo. Solace in Harsh Times by France Gordon. Dark Shadows by Etienne Roussel. Archangel Chronicles 2 by Raymond Collotti, Chapter 15. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved.